Welcome, everyone, to episode number 27 of the Debt Free Dad podcast. Today, we've got a really special guest who's going to be sharing how her and her husband, check this out, have paid off $36,000 and built a 3-month emergency fund, all within just the last 12 months. You have got to hear this story. Stay tuned.
Welcome to the Debt Free Dad podcast, where we're helping normal, everyday people learn how to save money and kick debt so they can live a happier and stress-free life. Now here's your host, Debt Free Dad, Brad Nelson.
Hey, what is going on, everybody? So excited to be here today. You can find me on Facebook, Pinterest, YouTube, and Instagram. Just search Brad Nelson, Debt Free Dad. And I would love to connect with you on one of those social platforms. And again, welcome to today's show. So I'm really excited about today's show. I'm always excited to have guests and people who are implementing and doing some of the stuff that we're teaching, because it's one thing for us to sit on this podcast and say that this stuff works. It's a whole other thing to actually get real people on here who are doing it and seeing how much it's changed their lives. And we've shared how much it's changed our lives. And I've got another great guest who's going to be joining us here today to share how much she's been able to do, her and her family have been able to do just in the last 12 months. And it's pretty remarkable. So if you've been listening to our podcast, or maybe you're just starting to listen to this, this is another great example that if you just start doing some of the basic things that we're sharing here, because the things that we're sharing aren't real complicated topics. They're not real complicated processes. It's just having the discipline and consistency and doing it day in and day out. And this stuff will change your life. And this story is proof that it will work for you as well. So today I'm excited to have Kayla joining us. So earlier this month, Kayla sent me a Facebook message sharing how her and her husband have paid off tens of thousands of dollars of debt and built a large emergency fund, all within the last 12 months, which when you think about it is a remarkable feat. I mean, that's just absolutely incredible. But there were some things in Kayla's message that really kind of caught my eye, and I think these things are things that a lot of us deal with, and I just had to have her on our podcast so she could share her story and share their journey over the last 12 months and how they were able to make this happen in really just a short period of time. We're talking 1 year. I mean, those are some big changes in 1 year. And I know that there's going to be some people out there today that this is really going to get you motivated, get you thinking that, man, if all these other people are doing this, there's no reason why I can't do it. There's no reason why I can't start working on some of this stuff today. So, hey, Kayla, how are you? Thank you for joining us on the podcast. We are so excited that you have taken some time out to share a little bit about your story.
Hey, Brad. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. I know this is it's going to be great to hear. I was just overjoyed with the message that you had sent, and I just had to have you on to talk about some of this stuff that you guys have experienced over the last year, because I think for a lot of people, it's the fear of getting started. It's the doubt, can I really do some of this stuff that they're talking about on this show? And I think having you on is going to be proof that a lot of this stuff is possible, that you can make some progress. So before we kind of get into what you've done over the last 12 months, can you give a little background on maybe how you grew up with money and how was the subject of money maybe as you grew up as a teenager and even into your early adult age, and how did that play an effect to some of the things and some of the challenges that you faced with your finances?
Sure, absolutely. So growing up, I have 2 older brothers and 1 younger sister, and we are all within about 6 or 7 years of each other. So lots of kids and not a lot of time. 3 of us were into 3 sports a year. So sports got pretty costly. Thankfully, my parents always made sure that there was money for those sports, always food on the table, things like that. So they were really good with that. Kind of noticing some of our friends going on these huge vacations, getting the newest electronics, we noticed it, but we always tried to stay in the moment and realize what we had too. So we went on mini vacations, but there was no like huge cruises or like Disney trips all the time. So then I was always told when I was younger that I had a champagne taste on a beer budget. I liked the nicer things, but not necessarily the money to go with it. So actually, when I started college, fresh out of high school, I was like, I like money. So I was actually working 4 jobs and going to college, taking a full course load, and I was running track. So wow. I slept about 4 hours a night if I was lucky because I was like, I wanted money. I was always chasing that dollar. The exhaustion actually caught up to me, and I dropped out of college. And so they still expect you to pay those loans back when you do that. So fresh out of college, and I weaned myself down. I was like, oh, okay, I'm only working one job. But it was waitressing. So some days you walk out and you're like, woohoo, I got like $100 in tips. Other days you walk out and you're like, was it even worth it for me to be there?
Right, right.
About that time, like I had paid off my first car, so that was really exciting. And then I had bought another one because I was like, I need a more reliable car. And so, of course, I had the loans to go with it. And then my student loans. And then I decided to get my first credit card.
Oh, boy. Yeah, there we go.
Yeah. It just that's where it started.
Yeah. And I think a lot of us, even myself, I could totally relate to that story because it's exactly what happened to me. I never had any intentions of racking up the debt that I found myself in when I was in my early 30s. It's like just one small decision after the next, and all of a sudden you turn around, you're like, where did all this come from? Right? It is that easy to go into debt. So you mentioned you liked you liked money, like you liked having money. Was it having the money like in a savings account, or did you like having the money so you could buy stuff? Was that kind of the mentality?
I liked being able to buy stuff, and then also I like to entertain. I love having friends over. I like to be needed, if that makes sense. But in college, all of my friends were like, "Oh, we're broke college students." So I'm like, "Oh, you guys want to go out to dinner? Like, I'll pay because I want to go hang out with you guys. I like to, eat food. So sure, let's go out and my treat." So
right. Oh yeah. Social influence. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a big one. So you joined Roots a couple years ago, and you can maybe talk a little bit about your experience with that. But what were some of the things that caused you to say, maybe I need to get some help with this stuff? Or what was interesting about what we were offering that really kind of made you like, maybe I need to do some of this stuff different?
So the funny thing is the training that Roots was first offered at, I actually left the day before you started telling everybody about it, like where you got up and talked about Roots. And so I left training a day before, and my friend messaged me and she's like, "Are you going to sign up for this?" And I was like, "I have no idea what you're even talking about." I was like, "No, like I'm good with money. Like I pay my bills. They're all paid on time. Like no big deal." And she just kept harassing me, like, "You got to do this with me. Like let's just do this together." And I was like, "I don't know who this person is. I don't know what's going on, but okay, fine. I will sign up." So I signed up, and I was very religious. I think I watched like the first 6 or 7 videos. I didn't watch them all because then I kind of got to the end, and then I kind of tapered off. That's generally what I do is I don't, finish things. But so at that point, like, I was paying my bills, but then watching the classes, I was like, well, I do have the credit card payment, and I do have a car payment, and I am married, and my husband had his own credit card payment, and his student loans, and his car payment, and then we had the mortgage, and so I was just like, that's a lot of money going out every single month. Like, I know you're always going to have the everyday bills of the heat and the electric and whatnot, and you're going to have to pay for gas in your car and food, but I was like, we could trim our budget down by a lot. So
yeah. Sometimes it's if it's only your eyes that are always looking at your situation, it's you sometimes get almost blinded by it. Like you don't really see all of that stuff that's going out, but once someone kind of opens your eyes up to it, you're like, wow, I guess, like some people will say, I don't have any debt. And then they'll go on the conversation and say, well, I'm making payments on my car and I got student loans. It's like, well, wait, I thought you said you didn't have any debt.
Yeah.
So you admitted in your Facebook message that when you went through Roots, you used the words kind of, you were a little lazy about it. Can you talk a little bit about what did that mean to you? Like, what do you feel you were lazy about? And the difference when you actually really started working at some of this stuff, which we can talk about that here in just a minute, between back when you kind of first went through it, what weren't you doing, you think, that you did this past year that really made the difference?
Well, when I went through Roots, I was like, I know I want to pay off my car. I didn't do the snowball method. I was like, my car payment is the highest payment I have. So I was like, I just want to get rid of it. It was my highest interest too, which was not that high. But after I paid off my car, then I was like, well, I have a credit card. Well, I have a student loan. Like, no big deal. Like, I'll keep paying those. Like, they're always going to be there. But I was like, I like nicer cars. So I was like, when I pay off my car, I'm like, So that's when I could start saving for the next nicer car and the next nicer car.
Yeah.
So I wasn't saving. I just, was continuing to make all the payments. So then I was like, whatever, these are just every monthly payments. And then occasionally, like once every 6 months, I'd be like, oh, I should pay off my student loans. And I think I had like 4 of them. So I would pay off one and then I'd be like, oh, okay, like now I got that payment down and now I'm just going to go spend money on something else. And then 6 months later, I've done paying the student loan payments and back at it, or I'd pay one more off, and they just kind of kept hanging around.
Yeah. So it's fair to say that it's probably more of, and I think we all struggle with this. I know that's very similar to the same thing that I did when I got on the plan, so to speak, very early on in my journey. It was you get on the plan and you get off the plan, and you really just lack consistency and discipline and really kind of making it happen. And it takes time to learn new habits and new behaviors and getting into that new rhythm. There's no question about it. So, but then some things changed because this last year you guys have crushed it, and you guys attended. You're a peer romance consultant, and you attended a conference that I was a part of called Partners in Business. This is about a year ago now, and but things changed after that. What happened that caused you guys to say, you know what, we need to really work harder at this? Can you share a little bit about that?
Yeah, absolutely. So with Partners in Business, my husband actually came with me, and I had been trying to get him on the plan. I am a strict zero-based budget. I'm like, I want to know where every single dollar is going every month. And he's just like, well, as long as there's still money in the bank at the end of the month, like, we're fine. I'm like, okay, I get that. But so then I would always budget, money, like pocket money for me. But then if he would spend an extra dollar, I'd be like, why are you spending, that extra money? So it did lead to, a couple money arguments between the two of us. Well, then we went to Partners in Business. And we're seeing, obviously your story with Sarah and your daughter Avery, and everything happened when she was born, and then seeing how you guys are saving for your kids and just kind of seeing the compound interest of everything that adds up. And it just kind of like the light bulb lit up. And so it was like, okay, we can do this. We were, established where we were. We'd actually just bought our house about a month prior to that. So we're like, okay, we're in our house. We have all of our stuff because we just stored it. I was super cheap when we moved, and I was like, I don't want to pay for a storage unit. So we stored it, in, different garages of family members. So by the time we got all of our stuff here, we're like, okay, we're set up. We're ready to go. We're going to do this. And actually, with the selling of our previous house, we were able to pay off my husband's car. So then the big thing that we had left was his student loans. And, the payment on the student loans is only, $100 and some change. But then it's a, mountain of, it was between $15,000 and $20,000. And I was like, I just want it gone. So every month, I'm like, we're just going to pay more on it. So
that is awesome. So can you share a little bit about the relationship side of things? Can you take me back a little bit before maybe you guys attended Partners in Business and where you guys are at today? How has, what was your relationship like then? And then how has it changed over the past year when the two of you really kind of got on the same plan and you had buy-in from both parties that, hey, these are our goals. This is what we want to do. Can you share a little bit about the differences that's made?
Yeah, absolutely. So essentially when I first started like the roots class and I was learning about it, I'm like, okay, we're going to pay stuff off. I put myself I was like, I'm on a budget, and we're still like, we had our own checking accounts. Like he had his credit card, his payments, whatever. And I had mine as well. So then I couldn't exactly see like what he was doing. I just knew what I was doing with my money. And I wanted to try and micromanage his money, but I was like, he works hard for it. And figuring out the budget, I'm like, okay, you can have some fun money. You can, my husband's really big into buying baseball caps. Like our garage is filled with them. Different, sorry, we're Vikings fans, but he has all the different Vikings caps from, when they put out the new ones. Whenever we travel to Cincinnati or we've been to Florida, he has to get the baseball cap for the football team that's in that area. And every time he would like go to buy one, or we would go walk around a mall, he'd be like, oh, I have to go look at a hat. And I'm like, you don't, like, you have so many. And so it's just kind of like letting loose and being like, okay, like this is kind of his spending money because I know I can spend money too, but I budget. So his just was in his account.
Sure.
And mine was in cash. So it was and then like going to the partners in business, it was like, okay, we're both going to set aside money. We're going to do this together. And I switched my mindset to being like, you have like your money where you can, pay for this extra thing here. It was just kind of getting in that mindset of like, I have my fun money and he needs his. He doesn't have to spend every dollar where I think he does. So that was just kind of the big thing, is kind of letting the control away from, his money.
Right.
So.
Right. So please share with us what have you guys been able to do in the last 12 months as far as how much debt you've been able to pay off and how much money you guys have been able to save by really taking action and working on some of this stuff?
Yeah. So in about the last 12 months, it was the end of our debt snowball. And it was mostly just my husband's student loans. And then you can throw into the car there too. So probably about $25,000. And then we saved about $10,000 too. So it wasn't a whole lot. It was just getting on that same page. We were also able to go to Ohio for 5 days over Thanksgiving. I have family out there, so it was nice to kind of do that little mini vacation there. So
awesome. That's incredible. How does that feel?
That feels so great. Like I said, it was like when it came to his student loans, it was only like $100 payment, but now it's gone. And then also like we have a 3-month emergency fund. So my husband actually got laid off for 2 days at the beginning of all of this Corona stuff. And he makes more than I do at our jobs. And so, we're trying to figure it out. And most of his paycheck will go towards the mortgage. So it's like, okay, like, and this was before all the extra money for the, oh my gosh,
the stimulus,
the extra money for, getting laid off,
sure,
was out. So we're like, okay, like after, about 6 weeks of this, then things are going to need to change. Like I was going to have to work more with my side hustle. So I was just like, and I kind of had freaked out internally. And then of course, when you freak out internally, where do you go? To Facebook. And then you read articles that are not good for you to read.
Right.
So, of, people losing houses and all this stuff. And it was not good. So I freaked out a lot. Thankfully, he was only laid off for 2 days. He works for a nonprofit. He works at the same company that I do. And they had gotten the funding to stay open and, keep him employed. So I was like, okay, thankfully, but I was like, we had our 3-month emergency fund that I was like, if by some chance this were to stay longer, we would be okay.
Right.
But then I was worried about, some of the other coworkers that live paycheck to paycheck. And I'm like, oh my gosh, like, what are they going to do? And I was like, I don't want to be in that situation.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I could totally relate to that. I mean, we're in the same situation. I mean, we've been working our finances for years, and throughout this whole thing, we've been, A-okay. I mean, it's business as usual at our house because we had a plan for it. But at the same time, we are human. So yeah, I was feeling bad for those people that didn't have a plan, that weren't prepared. Yeah. But for you guys to be able to, look back a year ago and make the decision to take action, paid off $25,000, saved 10 grand. I mean, that's a $36,000 swing in 12 months. And then all of this stuff happens. And I bet in the back of your mind, you're like, I'm glad we made that decision.
Absolutely. I couldn't imagine like if he got laid off and we still had the over $200 car payment for him and myself. And then his student loans of over $100 of mine. And I couldn't imagine. That's an extra $600 a month. And like I said, we were going to be, pressed really thin if he was laid off for 6 weeks. So I'm like, that, for lack of better words, freed up just an extra $600 each month. So
yeah, that's incredible. Congratulations to you guys. That is an amazing accomplishment in 1 year. It really, really is. You guys should be really, really proud of yourselves. So,
thank you.
Quick question for you. How have things changed over this past year, you think, the most for you guys, and how you look at your money and moving forward towards your future goals? Are you less stressed, a lot more hopeful? Like, where do you guys sit just 1 year ago?
I think 1 year ago it was, like I said, I was trying to micromanage his money, getting, him, I'm like, you have to be on my page. I'm very stubborn. So I was like, it's my way. Like, there's no other way you can do this. So now figuring out that like we can relax and enjoy the money that we work hard to earn. It's not spend all of it, but it's like, if we want to, order in dinner, once a month, we can do that. If we want to go out, we actually do weekly date nights. It's not, I think only about once a month we actually go out on our date nights, but it's, when we do that, it's like, okay, maybe we'll go to the movies on like Tuesday when it's the cheapest, or, we generally don't go out on the weekends, just because generally I'm out doing parties, but,
Sure.
but then they have, more deals during the week. So, yeah.
So would you say over the past year that, based on where you guys were a year ago, based on where you're at today, there's a lot more opportunity to say, enjoy the things that you love doing in your life?
Absolutely. Yeah. I definitely agree to that.
That's awesome. So did you talk to any of your friends or family about what you guys were doing? Did you guys share any information, and what was some of their feedback, if so?
So when I actually started Roots, I shared it with my oldest brother, and he had been going to college for about 10 years or so. And so, got a couple student loans. And so, sharing that with him, he's like, okay, like we're gonna do this. We're gonna get on the plan. He is paying off debt left and right. He is doing just amazing. But then kind of other people that I've talked to about it, they're like, well, that's cool that works for you, but it's not going to work for me. It's hard to get my spouse on board.
Yeah.
Or, that you're always going to need a credit score. And so just a lot of different things like that. So I got a lot of people who weren't as excited as I was about it.
Sure.
But like I said, if I ever really need anybody to talk to and be like, okay, like how much did you pay off? Or this is how much I paid off. Like be excited for me. Like I said, I can usually turn to my big brother and be like, all right, how are you doing? So,
yeah. And so is that the person you relied on, was your brother, is to stay motivated? Because that's one of the reasons why I feel accountability and having that support is so critical, because in today's day and age, to be an individual who wants less debt or maybe no debt, I mean, you're a rare person out there, because most people are just like, you're always going to have car payments, you're always going to have credit cards, you're always going to have debt. Well, you don't have to do that. You can make a different decision. So where did you find that support? Was it in your brother and your spouse, obviously?
So yeah, the big thing is like, I, listen to a lot of your podcasts on like, what to do when it comes to, money and where to go, different questions that, people have. And then I was going back and forth. So when my husband got laid off and then we didn't get our stimulus check right away, but then we had the money in the bank to pay off his student loans. And then I was like, do we, don't we? And then like every other day I was messaging my brother, like, should we, shouldn't we? And he's like, no, just wait until everything, has kind of finalized, everything like that. So he was kind of, I'm a very indecisive person. So I was like, what do I do? And, just kind of talking to him and talking to my husband and be like, okay, like let's get, and I kind of figured that as like three voices, as I'm like, okay, if we can get two on the same page, that's the route we're going to go. So we actually we just had the money in the bank for student loans for probably like 3 or 4 weeks before we actually hit submit. So it's just getting an extra voice on like what to bounce off of them. We were thinking about like if we should buy a new car or if we should do this or that. And so, just bouncing another idea off where they're kind of like a third party outsider, and just kind of getting a different idea. So yeah, he was definitely very much so supportive of this. So
yeah, finding that trusted voice. And that's the key. If you're listening to this, is making sure that trusted voice is someone that you can trust. Because finances can be tricky. You can look really good on the outside, but be really crummy on the inside if you started looking at some of the numbers and stuff. So yeah, finding that trusted voice is key. So Kayla, you guys have saved and paid off pretty close to $36,000 in the last 12 months. What would you say to someone who might be listening to this, who's maybe kind of where you were a couple years ago, maybe being not so disciplined and consistent about it, and maybe they're feeling a little unmotivated. Maybe they feel like one of those people that says, it works for you, but it doesn't work for me. What would you say to them?
I would just say, give it a try. What's the worst that happens? Let's just say 6 months down the road and you pay off all your debt and decide, you know what, I want those payments. I think I'm just going to go out and buy something that will give me those payments back. Or if you get 6 months down the road and you're like, oh my gosh, like now I can start saving for my future. I can start going on vacations. Just give it a try. and then just stick with it for about 6 months. I'm somebody that like outside of 6 months, I'm like, I don't think I'm going to do this anymore. So I usually find that that's about the good range of try it out and see what happens. If you absolutely hate it and want to go back to your life of payments, then you can do that. Just give it a try.
I couldn't have said it any better. What do you have to lose, right? You can always go back to the life you're living right now, and you might be surprised that what you might find by doing some of this stuff is that your life is going to drastically improve. So, Kayla, awesome interview. Thank you for sharing your story and what you guys have been able to do over this past year. It's been awesome that you've been able to take some time with us here today and share a little bit of that. I know it's going to motivate some people out there. And seriously, a huge congratulations to you and your husband for taking action and wanting to strive to be different and do different and improve your finances, which is going to improve your overall life. So that's absolutely incredible for you guys to be able to do that.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely.
Hey, what's this I see? I thought this was a party! Let's dance!
All right, that sound means it's time for the celebrations of the show, and today we're going to be kicking it off with Haley Dacey made a payment of $1,000 on my credit card. Only $700 left. That is awesome. Congratulations to you, Haley.
And Cassandra Lawrence, we paid off our Menards card as of 5/27, so May 27th.
May 27th. That is awesome. I remember when I paid off my Menards card. Do you guys have Menards up in Canada, Amber?
I don't think so. I think I've just seen them driving through the States.
Okay.
Carly Beth paid off our furniture loan of $4,070 and put a total of $2,000 on our last credit card. Only about $700 left on it, and then no more credit cards.
That is awesome. Being credit card free. How did it feel when you guys paid off your credit cards and you were done with them? Pretty awesome, huh?
It felt fantastic.
Yeah. It's pretty awesome. It's a pretty rare thing to be credit card free. I love that. Sammy Shopper, big wing this week. I paid off my car 22 months early. Over $4,500 paid off and saved another $700. Not only is it great that she paid her car off, but guess what else she gets to reclaim? The payment she was sending to that car. And that is one of the most important things when it comes to cash flow month to month and reducing financial stress. That is so awesome for her, so congratulations.
And Carrie Piotrowski Brogan, I added $300 to my emergency fund. My dishwasher died, and I paid cash for a new one. Way to go. And since I bought last year's model, she was able to save $221.
That's awesome. There's just so much to learn just from that little celebration, just right there.
Right?
There's so many things that you could take just from that and improve your finances. The fact that she had an emergency fund and she paid cash for the new one. Not only did she pay cash for the new one, but she bought last year's model, saving her even more money. It's just so much great stuff in that one little celebration. That's awesome. So huge congratulations to all of you who are working so hard. If you want the latest from the show, be sure to hit that notification bell and subscribe to our channel. And oh, by the way, if you heard that commercial about our Life Without Payments free course, you can head over and find that at therealdebtfreedad.com. Just click on tools and courses, and you'll have access to all of our free tools right there. We'll see you guys on an upcoming show.